If you want to blame Google for content that is put out there, then they have no business. They have no basis to be in business. So I appreciate what my colleague is saying, and but I want to draw his attention to the complexity, not only of technology law, but the internet environment, which makes regulation extremely difficult. Of course, a lot of countries have tried, but like I said earlier, there are policy issues. Do you want a different Nigeria online than a Nigeria that you have offline? And do you think Nigeria's constitution is applicable online or not? Because you don't want to wake up one morning and see that you have two operating legal systems, one for online and one for offline. We have Nigerian legal system, and that legal system must be able to seamlessly have all laws interwovenly enforced. We have a single court system, so the mistake is to assume that online is such a different world that we should build different structures for it and so on and so forth. No. For instance, look at defamation law. Section 375 of our criminal code already provides sanction against defamation. If you deliberately put out false information, that is intended to tarnish a reputation and so on and so forth, which is what the Senate is trying to accomplish, you would commit a crime in this country and you're subject to prosecution. Now, I'm not interested in the media in which you're using to accomplish this, nefarious activity if you are the person putting out the information. What I'm interested in is the fact that you have actually done it. And there's a case ongoing in Ogun State where the Cybercrime Act wasn't even mentioned, and the case is going on using, the criminal code. So we have to think of a situation in this country where we can understand that we have one law that operates in our legal environment, and that law has to be made to be sufficient for all cases, all right, whether online or offline. Of course, there's a challenge when you're looking at the structure of the internet, and I mentioned anonymity earlier. Not only are people trying to be anonymous, there are technologies that will help you succeed to be anonymous.
Is there any part of this frivolous petition prohibition bill that you think, okay, it's all right? Is there any part of it?
That question is overtaken by event. We have a law, and unlike what my colleague said, once a law is passed, it becomes enforceable. That the section 24(1)(b) of the Cybercrime Act covers that issue. If any senator or any public servant, anything that is mentioned in the bill today, if it is something that anybody wants to go to court for, there's already a legal basis right now. There's a statutory authority that provides foundation for going to court based on anything that I see in their bill.
All right.
And I support it. I support it in the sense that we should not be reckless. Channels Television is a professional media organization. Not only are you circumspect in the kind of information you put out, you are responsible, and you put your entire confidence behind your information. That's why it's difficult for a news station to retract any information that they put out there, because that in itself is like punishment. But you have the social media environment where it is not structured, it's not professional, there are no corporate structures behind it. Anybody can just wake up one morning, get a domain name, and start disseminating information. My take is that over time, the market will determine. If you keep getting information over and over and over again, and it ends up being false all the time, then as a citizen who is consuming news, you now know who to depend on.
All right, Basil.
Also, structured media are also getting into the online environment. They're also joining the new media. So if I get information from channels, I would put 100% reliability on it, because I already rely on it offline.
All right,
okay?
let's come back to the studio. Yinka, he said the social media is on. Who is it that you want to get a hold of?
Oh, no, I think that he's getting that perspective wrong totally, okay? Now, it is wrong to think that the social media is a free space where anybody can come and put whatever junk they want to put and then get away with it. He's made reference to existing criminal laws, and I agree with him entirely. However, those laws, as of that time, the only law he's talked about now is a general law for crimes. This one is for specific.
We have the one for defamation, the law of thought. Defamation.
Those are that's civil, okay?
What about
so why criminalize this?
The Cybercrime Act talks about internet generally. I'm even a proponent of saying that we should have a specific law for online banking. and issues connected to it, because it's so broad. Nobody can go to court. I have a matter in court as of today where a customer is accused of having used his mobile phone to defraud the bank using his own application that was installed on his phone by his bank. But with due respect, there's no existing law to charge him to court for that. And guess what? The prosecutor has taken that case under stealing by use of a phone. That has not been envisaged, and that proceedings has been going on for 3 years. My learned colleague is saying here now that somebody is being prosecuted in court and all of that. At the end of the day, it will be an exercise in futility, because the components, the particulars of the offense would be incomprehensible for a prosecutor who is relying on an archaic law and a judge who is not exposed to the recent trends. So it is very, very, very important to be able to drive dynamism into our laws.
Okay, now we are closing. What would you say should be done? You said, okay, maybe the way the lawmakers are going about it is what is wrong. Yes. What do you think should be done?
What I think should be done is this. There should be a stakeholders forum, all right, for everybody to come. There should be responsibility. Again, I stand against trial by social media. I don't want to name names this morning, but it's so wrong. You hear today 20 billion was stolen at the point. At another time, they'll say, oh, sorry, it wasn't 20, it was 200. But you keep damaging reputation of people, and they are presumed guilty until proven innocent, which is not what our law envisages. You are supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And what that bill aims to do is that when you bring petitions, when you are reporting a story or anything, ensure that it is true. That is not too much to ask for, number one. Number two, he says swear to an affidavit to say you have verified that the information is correct before you put it out there. Because how do you expect to be able to compensate those who have tarnished their images on the platter of any reason whatsoever, whether you want a change in government or you want to support a government in power for whatever it is worth? Nobody has any right to be crass about. And I wanted to add this, I'm sorry. He's talking about ISP and the different segments of internet that needs to be regulated. No, we are talking about content now. Whatever you put out there, if you are reporting, say, I heard that so put so. And if you heard and you have not verified, please do not post.
All right. Let's go to Basil.
Mr. Dutta, as we close.
Fundamental principles of law, which remain dear to me for a long time, is that law doesn't seek to regulate or govern an impossibility. It is totally impossible to regulate content in the internet, and I'm saying that understanding fully the nature of the internet and also understanding content. All right, that's one. Secondly, assuming you even want to do that, you have to find a comparable legal framework upon which to hinge such a regulation. You know, you have to, I mean, like I said earlier, is it telecoms, is it broadcasting, is it IT, what is it, you know, so that with that you can have an informed basis which to go, again, to go about the regulation. But, you know, he had said something earlier about trial on social media. If my reputation is tarnished by a content I find online, I just sue the person for damages in civil court. And if it is sufficient to meet the requirement of Section 375 of the Criminal Code, I petition the police, I have the person arrested, you know, pursue criminal prosecution against the person. I don't see any issue here. Really, I don't. You know, if it is the insufficiency of damages or the insufficiency of punishment, then that's a public policy issue, which again, the Cybercrime Act seems to have taken care of it. You know, providing 3 years imprisonment and 7 million naira for reckless and deceitful or wrongful introduction of information in the online environment. It is extremely difficult to regulate content. In fact, if you want to, who would regulate content? Even NCC is a technology services regulator. They don't regulate, nobody will the only entity that is in technology that does a remote regulation of content is the NBC. And that's because, you know, traditional broadcasting was so tied to our culture, and they need to preserve our traditional values, that NBC is statutorily required to regulate content to some extent, but that's even limited. You know, right. It's very, very difficult to regulate content. Also, we need to bear in mind there's a difference between substantive law and law of procedure. You know,
Basil,
So
we really have to
debate
go.
continues because
Yomi
it
wants to
doesn't.
fire you some questions, but I'm trying to hold her down here.
No. It's just,
so
it's
that
just when he said, you know, he could sue somebody. If he finds anybody online says something about he could sue. So, but if the person is, you know, maligning you from outside the country,
Which is what he stated.
how do you handle that? So the debate goes on.
The issue I raised earlier. Again, the nature of it is difficult. That's why I said it's impossible. But we have laws already, which you can use whatever means you can to enforce. I mean, how are you going to if the present legal system is not sufficient, and even with the introduction of the Cybercrime Act, you still see that it's challenging, you know, to regulate. So I would like to hear a discussion
debate
around
goes on.
But we'll come back to this. I'm sure we're not done with this conversation. We'll come back to this regulating or not regulating the internet space and social media. Thank you so much. Basil Udotai is an IT lawyer. Thank you for coming on the show. And Yinka Oyeniji, also a legal practitioner. Thank you for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure. Good morning.
And that's where we say thank you for letting us be a part of your
So it's about
morning.
3 hours.
It's almost 3 hours. Thank you so much for those that sent in their comments from around the world and all those that sent in their phone calls. Thank you very much. Remember that you are a responsible individual. Go out there and be one. I'm Neo Taigbe.
And I am Yomi Otaigbe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.